Hey guys, this is Lance with ActiveDen.net, and I just wanted to show you a tutorial on building a cannon using iTween. Now I'm not going to go through all the showing you how to set up the model and create prefabs and that kind of thing. I'm going to assume you already know how to do that. I'll run through basically how it's set up. But if you don't know how to do that stuff, then there are a million tutorials out there, so I'd start with those. This one's just going to be mostly coding. Alright, so we've got our cannon here. And our cannon has the barrel, the base, the muzzle, and that's actually just an empty game object, and it's just going to be the spot where the blast and the smoke comes from. It's just a point in space, really. The point light right here, we're going to have that flash all cool when the cannon goes off. And then we've got our two sets of wheels. The wheels will never rotate independently, so the back wheels are in a group and the front wheels are in a group. The other stuff that we've got here, we've got the barrel blast and the barrel smoke. Those are just two different particle systems. Alright, so let's look at the code. Well, first let's look at what the script's got. I've already got the variables in there. We're just defining, the cannon, the barrel, the muzzle as game objects. The wheels are in an array. Reason for that is so that we could have, 3 or 4 or 5 wheels, depending on how big the cannon is. We've got the kickback distance, which is how much we want the cannon to actually move. The time that it'll take to go back, shoot back, and then come to its original spot. This is just an audio clip we've got. Actually, let's set this. The camera to shake. This is so that when the cannon goes off, it'll bounce. And the farther away you are, the less it will bounce until you get a certain distance away, and then not at all. So then the distance that you'll still feel it, the camera will still feel it, is 10 meters. We've got the amount, the time. Let's see. We're just defining here the two particles. The blast light, the light intensity. So when it's actually going off, this is about how intense it's going to be. Then we've got how fast it'll die away, the bright light. And then we've got a boolean here called loop. This is just, if we set it to yes, which we are in this tutorial, it's just going to automatically fire periodically every, 5 seconds after 1.2 seconds. If we took this off, then it would only fire if we, actually ran the code to tell it to. So then you could do things like, assign it to a button or something. But for now, we're just going to have a loop. Alright, so let's get to the script. So, as you can see, we have all of the variables already defined in here. These are just the ones I was showing you a minute ago. And then we've got the one private var. And if it's a private var, it's not going to show up here, which is current light intensity. And we'll get to what that is later. So let's start with our first function. It seems like everybody who codes in Unity, they're always using the update function for everything. And if you're coming from a Flash background, that's the equivalent of using the onEnter frame or enter frame for everything. You should really only use update, which updates every single frame if something's happening every frame. And we're not. This cannon only is going to do anything when we actually say shoot. So let's just use the start function. And in there, we're going to say if loop, and loop is that variable, that boolean we defined here. So yes, we want it to loop. In here, we're going to say shoot cannon. That's the function we're going to call. Now, we don't want it to shoot instantly. We want it to shoot after, time until first shot, which by default is 0.5 seconds. So we just say yield, wait for seconds, time until first shot. So won't run this function until that. Alright, so let's create function shoot cannon. Now before we start doing anything to make the cannon actually shoot, let's make it the loop actually work. So this would be at the very end of the shoot cannon function. So if loop, same thing as before, we're going to call a function called wait. And we're going to pass in the variable loop time, which is how long we want it to wait. So function wait, wait time, and then we're going to go yield again, wait for seconds, and that's, a built-in Unity function, and then wait time, and then we're going to say shoot cannon again. So just to recap here, we call shoot cannon the first time, then at the end of that it calls this function, it says wait, and then shoots the cannon again. So that should be easy. Let's do our first little bit with iTween. Let's make the sound. Alright, iTween has a really handy little function called stab, and I have no idea why it's called stab, to be honest with you. It's just something that makes a sound right there on the spot, and I think the thinking was like, I don't know, a stab sound? I don't know. It has to be attached to an item, so we're just going to attach it to cannon. It needs two variables. It needs the audio clip. Let me just copy and paste this in. The audio clip and the pitch. So we're just going to define the audio clip, which is explosion sound, and that's just what we defined up here, explosion sound, okay? And then the pitch is 1. So if we test this, every few seconds we should just hear the boom, the cannon sound. Oh, looks like we have some errors. Sorry about that. Oh, sorry about that. These are supposed to be curly braces and not what we had earlier. Okay, so testing it. And there we go. We have the audio that'll run every few seconds. And it works just fine. Okay, let's go back to the code. So the next thing we want to do is let's add in those particles, because it makes it look cool. So we're going to instantiate, let's start with the barrel smoke. So this instantiate is going to have 3 different things that you need to add in there. What you're actually instantiating, its position, and then its rotation. So the position, we want it the exact position of the muzzle, and that's what we were talking about earlier, that empty movie clip, what is it called? empty game object. Sorry, I'm so used to Flash. So we're just going to use its position and its rotation. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing with the barrel blast. So let's see how that does. And it looks good. You have the one with the smoke and the one with the blast. And the next thing that we are going to do, we're going to make the cannon actually kick back. Because right now it just looks, kind of silly without any kickback. Alright. So, very first, we're going to say, I'm just going to copy and paste. Actually, I'll write it out. iTween dot, I really like this one, punch position. This one's nice because basically what it does is the cannon's in one spot, and then you tell it where you want it to go, and it'll jump back to that spot and then just kind of like bounce back to its original position. In Flash, there's no real easy way to do that, so it's nice to have this. So we're going to make the whole cannon jump back. We're going to have the Y position, and then we're going to just use what we had earlier, what we defined earlier with the kickback distance. So that'll change its Y position, and then we just need to define the time. And we're going to again just use kickback time, which we defined earlier. Alright, so that should make it jump back.